Alright guys, today is day 2 of the Advent of Cyber 2025, hosted by TryHackMe, and today's room is Phishing. Merry Clickmas. So let's get into it. So it says here that we are going to learn how to use Social Engineering Toolkit to send phishing emails. And there's 2 videos on the Advent of Cyber day 2. We're going to skip those for now. So here, day 2 of the story. It says, in light of several recent cybersecurity threats against the Best Festival Company, the local red team has scheduled several penetration tests. The red teamers proceeded to carry out a regular penetration test against the Best Festival Company. Part of this exercise is to ensure that the employees are diligent when clicking links, and that the company is well protected against the latest phishing attacks. This type of authorized phishing is a proven way to learn whether the cybersecurity awareness training has fruited. In this task, we're going to be part of the Best Festival Company local red team with the elves Recon McRed, Exploit McRed, and Pivot McRed. We will help them plan and execute their phishing campaign. It is time to see if more cybersecurity awareness training is required. So our learning objectives for this is to learn what social engineering is, the different types of phishing, and explore how red teams create fake login pages. We're also going to be using social engineering toolkits to send a phishing email. So for this, we are going to be starting our attack box today, as well as starting a VM. There is no split screen available, there is no direct link available, and we will not be given credentials to remote in at all. It does say here that we want to start our target VM by clicking Start Machine. Below, the machine will need about 2 minutes to fully start. Additionally, we want to start our attack box by clicking the Start Attack Box button. The attack box will be started in split view. In case we don't see it, we can click the Show Split View button at the top of the page. So let's start these 2 machines. Alright, so it looks like our attack box has started and our target machine has started. Alright, and at the end of this, it's going to say, answer the question below. I have successfully started the attack box and the target machine. Just check that off. And then we can continue down. So, what is social engineering, right? Social engineering just refers to the way we manipulate people to make a mistake, right? Examples of such mistakes include sharing passwords, opening up malicious files, and approving payments. The term social means that the target of such an attack is, of course, a human being, a social creature, not a computer system. Consequently, the attacker relies on psychological tricks to get the target user to cooperate. Some psychological factors that can play a key role in the success of such an attack is things like urgency, curiosity, authority, right? This is why some will refer to this as social engineering, or known as human hacking. Now, what's phishing? Phishing is just a subset of social engineering, which is the communication medium that is mostly used for messages, right? At some point, the most common phishing attack happens via emails, right? We all get those spam emails. However, the spread of smartphones, along with ubiquitous internet access, has spread phishing to short text messages, voice calls, or even QR codes. As well as social media direct messages. The attacker's purpose is to make the target user click, open, or reply to a message so that the attacker can steal information, money, or access. Unfortunately, phishing attacks are becoming harder to spot. Even careful people might fall target to such attacks if they don't exercise proper care. TBFC Cybersecurity Awareness Training teaches users about 2 anti-phishing mnemonics written as STOP. The first STOP is from all things secure, which tells users to ask the following questions before acting on an email. Is it suspicious, right? Tell me to click something, offering me an amazing deal, pushing me into doing something. The second stop reminds users to follow the following instructions. Slow down, right? Scammers run on your adrenaline. Type the address yourself. Don't just use the link in a message. Never open anything that's unexpected, right? Always verify first. Prove who the sender is, right? Check the email from address or number, not just the display name. After hours of periodic cybersecurity training, the red team checks to see if the TBFC staff can dodge fishy emails. So, building the trap, right? You must sound very convincing as a penetration tester to successfully pull off a phishing attack. It's not only how you write the phishing email or messages, but how you set up the trap for the target. The trap can be anything depending on your objectives and the research you conduct on the target. Sometimes attackers aim to compromise the target's machine, and they achieve this by attaching a malicious file to their phishing email. Attackers sometimes craft a web page that mimics a legitimate login page to steal, for example, their credentials. So in this task, we aim to acquire the target's user credentials. Our trap would be a fake TBFC portal login page, which we attach to the phishing email and send to the target. But a login page itself is not just enough, right? We need to host it and implement some logic to capture the credentials entered by the target. To allow this, we have already set up a script that, when run, will host a fake login page. The phony login page we create will capture all credentials entered into the web page. It tells us that the script is already placed on the attack box, which was signed into on the right hand side, in the directory of /rooms/AOC 2025/day02. It says alternatively, if we want to use our own THM VPN connected machine, we can download the script via the download task files button below. We want to make sure to keep both files in the same directory though. It says for us to run the script, we can use the /server.py and it will start listening for any credentials. If the target gets trapped and enters the credentials, it will be shown on the same terminal. And it shows us an example. It shows us that the above message indicates that the phishing web application is listening on port 8000. Moreover, the 0.0.0.0 implies that it is bound to all interfaces on all subnet masks. To confirm that the user will see it, we want to use Firefox on the attack box and browse to http://10.65.173.58.8000 or the localhost, which is http://127.0.0.1. With this set up, it's time to email this link to our users to test their vigilance. Let's open up the terminal here. So we're going to go and actually do this. So on our attack box, we're going to change directories into the rooms directory. Inside of that is a folder of AOC 2025 and day 2 is inside of that. So we can do ls just to see what's in here, and we see an index.html, which is what the website will use, and a server.py. Now we can activate server.py just by running this Python file. And now we can see that we are starting to listen for any IP address on port 8000. So we can test this by going to Firefox on our local attack box to the 127.0.0.1 8000 address to test and make sure this works. All right, so let's see how that is. We're going to go to 127.0.0.1 semicolon 8000. And we can see it does pull up a portal asking for our staff credentials, our username or email and password. If we move this out of the way, we can see that there was a connection to this, right? And it was a good connection, and when it was. All right, so now that we know it's running and it's set up, we're going to deliver this via the Social Engineering Toolkit, the SET. So it says that as our phishing page is ready, we can now prepare and send this to our targets. Sending it from our personal email is the worst idea, right? Ideally, you want to send this from an email that looks like it's coming from a legitimate sender. For example, we can pretend to be someone that the target users trust or expect to get an email from. The more a phishing email appears to be realistic, the more likely the target is to believe it and get phished. The question here is, how can we send a realistic looking email that contains our fake login page? Well, like we said, we're going to use the Social Engineering Toolkit to do this. It's an open source tool designed by David Kennedy for social engineering attacks. It offers features that allow us to compose and send a phishing email. In this current scenario, we're going to use this tool to create and send a phishing email to the target user. So let's create the first phishing email with the SET. Now, before we can do this or use the tool, we need to remember that this involves multiple steps. It's not just one command and go, right? There's multiple steps into doing this. Each ask a different question about the phishing email we intend to send. So we're going to minimize that for now. And we're going to actually Control C to shut this down. So we're going to run set toolkit, SE toolkit. And you can see that it is running. Let's give it a second to fully load. So it says that we can select from the menu what we want to do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually look at the menu and select one, which is to start or select a social engineering attack. All right, so we're going to do the one button, and you can see it's going to start the social engineering toolkit for attacks. So we can see inside of this social engineering attack tool, there's a lot of different options we can do. You know, spear phishing, website attack, infectious media generator, etc. We're going to be using number 5, which is the mass emailer attack. So we're going to click 5 and use that. Now it asks us more questions. It says that there are 2 options on the mass emailer. The first would be to send an email to one individual person. The second option will allow us to import a list of people and send it to as many people as we want within that list. So what we're going to do is they say we want to just send it to a single email. So we're going to do 1 here. And now it's going to ask us for what the email is to send it to. So we're going to send it to factory@wareville.thm. So let's input that. Factory@wareville.thm. Now it says either 1 or 2, use a Gmail account for our email attack, use your own server, or Open Relay. Now we're going to choose Open Relay, so we're going to do number 2 because we don't want to use our own Gmail for this. And then asks us for an email, right? We know that guys at the toy factory communicate regularly with the Flying Deer, the shipping company. So we're going to use their email as the source. So we're going to do updates at flyingdeer.thm as the source email. And we're going to say the name of the user is going to be Flying Deer. The username for the Open Relay, we're going to leave that blank. Same thing for the password. We're going to leave that blank as well. Now it says here the SMTP, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol email server address. and it's going to ask us what it is. So we're going to give it, it's going to be our IP address, which is 10.65.136.48. It's going to ask us what the port number is, and we are going to leave this default, so we're just going to hit enter. The next set of questions will ask us if we want to send it as a high priority or attach a file to it. Right? So we have a question saying flag this email as high priority, yes or no. We're going to do no, but this depends on what you want to do. If you know, your knowledge of this, we're just going to do no for now, right? So no, we don't want to do it. It's going to say, do we want to attach a file? We're going to do N because we're not going to. And again, it's going to ask us, do we want to attach an inline file? We're not going to do that. We're just going to do N. So now it's going to ask us about things like the subject, right? What do we want the subject to be for this? This is going to be shipping. Schedule changes. And then it says, send the message as HTML or plain. We will keep the default choice of plain text, so we're just going to hit enter, because P is plain text by default. Then it asks us to enter the body of the message and type end, in all capitals when finished. So we're going to create and type any convincing message, and we're going to make sure to include the IP address being the URL, and check to see if the target will fall for this trick. In this example, they say, kindly note there has been significant changes to the shipping schedules due to increased shipping orders. It also says that we want to please confirm the new schedule by visiting this URL. Best regards, Flying Deer. So we can type all that if we want. I'm going to type something similar to that. So I'm going to say, please note that the shipping schedules have changed. And we're going to say, please confirm the new schedule. And we're going to include that link here, http://10.65.173.58. We're going to do semicolon 8000 as the port number. And then we can do best regards, the Flying Deer. And then when we're done, we're just going to type end in all caps, END. All right. It says press return to continue. So let's press return. So now that the phishing email has been sent to the target, we can open up the server.py script and make sure it's running. So we can get out of here, 99, back to the main menu. And then we're going to do 99 again to exit out of the toolkit. So we're going to run that same server.py Python file script. And it says we might have to wait a minute or two and observe the terminal for any credentials entered by the user. So that's what we're going to do now. So we can see here that it was captured. It sees the admin as the username and password as onranked-wisdom-anthem. And it tells us from what IP address it comes from. So there is a question here saying what is the password for the use of the TBFC portal, and that is the onranked, I can spell onranked-wisdom-anthem. So we're going to check that. That is correct. It now says to browse to the website http://10.65.136.48 from within our attack box, and try to access the mailbox of the factory user to see if the previously harvested admin password has been reused on the email portal. What is the total number of toys expected for delivery? So we have that open still. maybe not. We can go to it though. So this is http /10.65.136.48. Alright, so it says we want to try and access the mailbox of the factory user. So factory. And see if the same password works. So unranked -wisdom -anthem. And hopefully I spelled all that correctly. And I did. So we can see we got access into the email inbox. Now it asks us, what is the total number of toys expected for delivery? All right, so let's look at this. We can see it is going to be 1,984,000 units. So we're going to enter that, 1,984,000 units. And we got that correct. And lastly, it says if we've enjoyed the phishing room today, we can check out the phishing prevention room. All right. And when we're done, we can just press check. And that'll finish it. All right, guys. So we've just completed the phishing Merry Clickmas room for day 2. All right. Come back here tomorrow for day number 3. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.